With us right now, of course, Taylor Parker from Concept by Iowa Hearing here. Great to see you again.
Great to be back.
Yeah, and one thing that we've learned by visiting with Taylor is we learn about how important hearing is to your overall well-being. And what we're going to talk about today is really important.
Yeah, it's very important. When you think about how hearing actually works, the ears just take the sound, conduct it to the cochlea, which is a little snail-looking apparatus, has 15,000 tiny little hairs inside of there. And when those get damaged, whether they get broken off, noise-induced hearing loss from noise exposure is the #1 type of hearing loss. So those hairs will get broken off, they'll get brittle, they don't grow back. So what happens is the cochlea then sends that signal to the brain that it receives from the ears, but it's sending a broken signal because those hairs are broken, so it can't send a full signal. So the brain's getting a partial signal. The brain actually has to work overtime. It has to work harder. So think about, like an engine. If, a piston were to go out of an engine, it's got to work harder, right?
Yeah.
Well, same thing with your brain. Your brain has to work harder, but it just doesn't. So what it'll do is it'll rob from other resources. It'll take from areas that, those areas need to do their job, but now they're having to kind of like dual source. So cognitive being the first one, so how we understand, how we interpret, how we converse. Cognitive being the first area that gets robbed, and then balance and gait. And we've talked about all of these before, but that's what happens is our brain's robbing from other areas to focus on that hearing because it's getting that broken signal.
So you're getting the broken signal, so the brain's saying, we need to figure out what this is saying. And what
it's
this
piecing
signal
it together.
is, and they're trying to add to that signal, and it's taken from other parts of the brain.
It is, and so it's working overtime, and it's causing the brain to actually shrink. And if you look at that MRI on the screen, you'll notice the left-hand side is with an untreated hearing loss.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so the brain actually changes physical form. The right-hand side is normal hearing, and what happens now is when you decide to go treat your hearing loss, which, we should do it earlier because of this, that the left-hand side doesn't go back to the right-hand side now. So the brain never goes back to its original form.
So if it shrinks,
it's stuck. It stays there now. So we've now permanently deformed our brain and caused long-term damage.
Oh no.
Yeah, which is not what we want to do. But there is hope. Studies have shown that by treating your hearing loss, you can reduce dementia symptoms or delay them by up to 75%.
That's a lot.
So it does really work by treating your hearing loss, but you have to make that move. Get your hearing screened, treat your hearing loss, because if you came in today, Lou, and had your hearing screened, and we said, Lou, you have a hearing loss, here's what you should do, and you say, thank you, but I need to think about it. And you go home. When you go home, tomorrow when you wake up, you're not gonna, your brain's not gonna look like the left-hand side, but you're still going to have those hearing loss symptoms, but it's every day of not treating it. It's working that way.
Direction.
Correct.
Yeah.
You're working your brain to that way. But the issue is then when you decide to treat your hearing loss, you can't reverse that. So the earlier you treat your hearing loss, the better off you are because of your brain. Your brain is what does everything in our body. It's not
just preventative.
It's huge. Your brain is your largest muscle, and it's what controls everything else in our body. So you have to treat your brain.
Yeah,
and that's what you're doing.
And as folks are getting older too now, dementia is a big word that people are using a lot, and this can help that.
Oh, by all means, there's a strong correlation. It's 94% correlated between untreated hearing loss and dementia. So it's virtually guaranteed almost between the two.
94% correlation.
Yeah, that's almost amazing. 100. And but 75% reduction in the symptoms, you can delay them by up to 75% just by treating your hearing loss.
All right, folks, what we're trying to say, get your hearing test. Have your loved ones get their hearing test. Easiest way people can get their hearing test over.
Easiest ways to either call the 800 number or go to iowahearing.com. You can go right to our website, pick the office, pick the time. You can choose everything right there on the site and, decide it's a free hearing screening.
Free.
So get to iowahearing.com and get that done.
All right, great information as always, and hopefully you get your hearing checked, get it fixed, get it taken care of, and we will see you next time on Iowa Live.